Hello, this is Sean Pulrang from ICLUBcentral. Welcome to our Investment Club webinar for the night of Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. Tonight, we're going to be talking about linking your SSGPlus stock studies to your My iClub portfolio. Doug is on assignment tonight, so with me in the back office is Russell Malley, our club accounting advisor. As always, the control panel should be on the right-hand side of your screen. We've got the handout for tonight. There's a little question box. Put any questions in there. I won't be answering tonight, but Russell certainly will take care of everything there, I'm sure. So, as I say, best way to begin is by beginning. So, what is the myiclub.com to SSG Plus link? So this is a feature that allows you to link your SSG studies from your Better Investing SSG Plus and have the data feed into the judgments the judgments feed into the portfolio reports used in the myiclub.com as well as the Stock Watcher. What we're going for here is originally these reports used to rely a lot on an automated judgment from My iClub. Using the stock study allows you to dramatically personalize the information that shows up there. Now, this is something that any club has the ability to do. There is no extra cost here for the My iClub end of it. It gives access to the SSG Plus tool on Better Investing. I will say this is geared, and we greatly appreciate and believe that the best option is for as many folks in the club as possible to be using it. However, we know that some clubs have a designated stock watcher whose job it is to track the entire portfolio. So if possible, or if desired, I should say, you can set this up for one individual to do all of this tracking. Again, as we go through tonight, I'm going to assume that that's not the case, but again, it's certainly possible. If you want to talk to us on the support line about how to do that, certainly let us know. I should also say, head off any questions. This does not work if you're one of the folks using the Toolkit 6PC program. The Toolkit studies can be imported to SSG Plus. And I do definitely encourage anyone using Toolkit to give support a ring or give a contact by email about getting everything moved over and using that online tool. I'll also say the information that we've got here that I'm going over tonight, as well as the handout, as well as steps on how to do this, are also available in the file storage section of every My iClub site. You go to file storage, you click on the free resources. There is a wealth of information there, including what we're going over tonight. So, step one, and this is, again, we assume that every member is going to do this. We want everyone to be involved. So again, this is going to say members must link accounts. I'm going to go over the steps here, and then I'll show you what some of the screens look like. So for each person, they'll sign in to the My iClub. They'll go up, click the My Account link near the top right corner, click the Establish BI link, enter the Better Investing name and password, click Establish link. And now this is one that we run into. Sometimes folks are in a hurry to get this taken care of. Sometimes they'll click or double click and get an error message. It's not a big problem, just a little bit of a headache to have to work around. So once you click that Establish link, you give it a few seconds, the computer's talk in the background, and the screen will refresh once it's done, and you'll be able to carry on from there. So as I say, here are the screens that you'll see. You've got that My Account near the top right-hand corner. After you click on that, you'll use the Establish BI link down the left here. You put in your username, your password, you click that Establish link. Again, you only need to click it once. It'll take a couple seconds and the screen will refresh. It'll say here, your link is established. It'll show your Better Investing number, just in case. And from there, you're ready to go. Again, as it said before, you only need to do this once. So once it's done, you can move on to figuring out who is assigned to which stocks. This is primarily done by club officers. That's the treasurer, the president, vice president, and so forth. So again, I'm going to go over some of the steps, and then I'll show you the screens. So this requires the permission of create and delete ballots, edit stock watcher assignments. This is something that when a club is first set up, only the treasurer has, but it is certainly a permission that can be assigned out to other members in the club if you desire. So to do this, you'll go to the My iClub, click Reports, then Stock Watcher Assignment. You'll select the assigned club member for each stock in the club's portfolio. You can choose, and again, as I said before, if you really want to, you can have one person take care of this, so you can have one person managing multiple stocks. It does not work in the other direction though, so you cannot have 3 different people watching Apple. One person has to get Apple, one person has to get Walmart, and so forth. We'll say also in the next screen, you're going to see something that says last generated. Careful on this. It is the date of the Stock Watcher report, not necessarily connected to the stock study that you've done. You click the submit and save the changes. So as I say, here's where you're looking. You'll come here, you click on the Stock Watcher assignments, either on the left side or in the main part of the page. That will take you to a list here that shows, in this case, we've done some of the work for you. You've got the stocks, you've got assigned to, SSGPlus link established. Now, something to keep in mind here, we've got a lot of yeses, even though we see one at the bottom for Doug that says no. The no there can mean a couple of things. In this case, we can assume Doug has all these other stocks linked. So in this case, it just means Doug probably has not chosen a stock study for that particular stock. He's chosen for all the others, has not finished one for EXR. But you choose the people's names at the bottom of this screen. This screen was a little bit long, my apologies, but there will be a submit button. You click that, it'll save the changes, and then the members are ready to go, and they're ready to start working on their stock studies and getting things rolling on their end. So I will say, if the members are already using SSGPlus, you can kind of skip over this explanation a little bit, but for those that are not, or for those who have a brand new stock, they'll need to sign into the Better Investing website, go into the SSGPlus. They'll need to start a new stock study. We do recommend, especially if you're planning to keep maybe multiple different copies of the stock study, we do recommend naming the study in the Better Investing tool to include the club name. And again, just to make it easier to find. I should also point out, we run into this sometimes, folks are in a little bit of a hurry. This won't work if the study isn't complete. Make sure that you've got the back page, make sure the judgment is filled in, and you've got the buy, hold, or sell sorted out there. So we'll see in this, for example, we've got a stock study, again, Apple, very popular, and we've just named it. We've put the default ticker symbol and then the NEIC as the name of the study. So we'll save that. So once you've got stock study saved, then it's a matter of linking that specific study into the site. So for this, you'd go back to the myiclub.com, go into the reports section, and this is done generally by the folks who have the studies assigned to them. So what you're going to look for in that case is something that says My Assigned Stocks. Now, default, when you first go into this page, and again, as before, I'll show you the screens for this. It'll say not linked, means that you haven't chosen a stock study yet, or the site doesn't recognize perhaps that the stock study may not be complete, depending on the case may be here. So you're going to choose each of the stock studies, you're going to click submit, and that'll save your choices. So you're going to see this screen kind of a lot. We keep going here. So again, you've got the My Assigned Stocks either on the left or on the section here in the main part of the page. And this screen will look very similar. The main difference here is, unless you're the person who has been assigned every single stock in the club, you're only going to see 1, maybe 2 or 3 stocks on this page. And you'll get this column here, the BI study. And as you can see, we've got a couple of different Apple stocks here that have been worked on over time. We're going to select, in this case, the one that's the AAPL-NEIC. I'm going to select that from the little drop down. And again, you would normally see near the bottom of this page, you would see a submit that will save the changes. And also, anytime you come here, you'll get this column, the study last updated. That'll be when the stock study itself has been updated. So that'll keep track. If you come to this page, it's a nice, easy way while you're on the site to remind yourself that you do need to go back and update those stock studies sometimes. Apologies. So I will say it's also easy enough to see who is assigned to which stock, which is, again, the myiclub.com, go to the reports, and in this case, Stock Watcher assignments or Club Stock Watcher assignments. Now, as I mentioned, the last generated in this case is the generated Stock Watcher report, not necessarily the stock study on the Better Investing side. And again, as I mentioned, the no in the next screen or two screens that we're going to see can just mean no stock study has been selected. Again, if you've set up, if you're like Doug and you've got a couple of stocks you're watching and you've got a few yeses and one no, again, the no just means you need to go and double check and get that stock connected. So again, Stock Watcher assignments, and you'll go in. And again, you'll see in this case, this is similar to that screen from before. You'll see as one of the administrators of the stocks, you'll see who everything is assigned to. You'll see in this case, now two of our folks need to get on the ball and get their stock studies connected. In fact, Earl needs to also go ahead and do his Stock Watcher. So we'll get on them after the meeting about that. So this is an important one that we run into in support sometimes, that folks will connect the stock study and then assume that because the data in my iClub, the prices and everything get updated every night, it's easy to make the assumption that the same thing happens to the stock studies. That's not the case. You do need to go through and do updates on the stock study on the Better Investing side. So this is, we say, generally, you say once a month. If you're like me, you're going in every 7 to 10 days, maybe sometimes more, and doing updates. So this is just, again, just to make sure you say that you're signing in and you're doing your updates fairly regularly, making sure that both the price and the data get updated. And we're going to go through a little bit of the how-to on this. And as before, this is the text here, and I'll show you the screens on the next slide over. So it's once you're signed in, you're going to go into either studies or portfolios. There's an update button. You're going to click that. Particularly if you're doing this one by one for the stocks, it's going to come up with options about, do you want to update just the prices, the price and the data, or create a whole new study? I will say you always want to leave it on price and data. There's almost no reason to do the just price only. And I will also say, personal preference, I say stay away from the create a new study, only because then you have to take the extra step to remember to go back to the club site and choose that new study. So you're gonna choose prices and data. You're going to click OK, and that's going to update the study or the portfolio, depending on which you've chosen. And so again, here's the screen. It's the same little sort of semicircular arrows chasing each other, in whether you've got it set up under portfolios or doing individual stocks. You get this same sort of screen here. Get the latest company data. Again, we've chosen in this case overwrite company data. Overwrite data being data and price, not just the price. Now, once you've done that, you can double check yourself. If you check on the portfolio summary, for example, or several of the other portfolio reports, you'll see where it'll show the ticker, company name, who's tracking the stock, and then the updated date in this case. I just did this a couple of days ago, so we're good to go there. Now, I will say, I haven't spent much time. We're going to touch very lightly on the reports that are impacted by having the stock study set up and by keeping the data up to date. So just sort of a quick list here. Let's say the diversification reports are not affected unless somehow, something dramatic happens where the company changes type. It is primarily the ones where you're looking at judgment. So the portfolio reports for summary, review, offense, defense, and trend. If you have studies linked, then the information from those studies, it may be obvious, but the information including prices will come from those stock studies. In cases where it's not linked, we take a minimal amount of information, including price. If a study isn't linked, we don't want to leave it completely blank. And I will say for each of these reports, we've spent a good deal of time setting up help pages. So on any of the reports, if you're looking at it and you're wondering, what does this do? You can use the help link that's on any page, and that'll take you to a whole FAQ that gives a soup to nuts for the report. And for those who are interested, as you can see at the bottom, the next planned webinar for July is going to be a fairly in-depth look at that review report. So again, this is just the summary report. And as I say, up in the top corner, that help link, if you're signed into the site, you click that, it'll open a new page and it'll show you column by column, line by line, what each of these columns are all about. And we've got the portfolio review report. This one, I'm not going to show both versions. I tend to leave it with a little check mark here for extended version or extended report. Adds a little bit of information on at the end. It's a pretty decent one. Those familiar with Toolkit or any of the study tools will recognize both the offense and defense report, tracking the stocks that are either under or overperforming. Again, if you've used stock study tools for a while, you're probably fairly familiar with that. And then just the sort of the general trend report. It gives, as it says, the trend of trends to show you where things are going. Now I will say also, we've talked a lot about the portfolio reports. I want to go over the Stock Watcher a little bit. It is not a direct recreation of the stock study. If you've used it, you know this, but I just want to take a minute here. The Stock Watcher report is something we've designed. The intent is to help you focus in on what's important when you're reviewing changes to the stocks that are held in the club's portfolio. So once the SSGPlus studies are linked, as again, we've seen what it can do for the portfolio reports. It's a little more subtle in the Stock Watcher, but the information is fed and blended into the Stock Watcher reports as well. So those will update both with the valuations that you create and the stock studies. It's a very all-in-one report there. It takes all the information, sort of puts it together, tries to make it in a friendly, readable format there. So to do this, you'll go to Reports, Generate Stock Watcher Report. On that page, there'll be a link that will say Generate Stock Watcher Report. You can do this for any stock in the club. It's just a matter of, if you're the stock watcher, it's going to use your data. If someone else is the stock watcher, it's going to use their data. And because we don't want to leave anyone high and dry, if there is no linked stock study, it will fall back on just using publicly available information about the company. So I'll say as usual, we've got, there's the screen that you're going to see. We're signed in as Doug in this case. So we've got a mix here. We've got, for example, Apple, Stock Watcher report. There's nothing after it, so we know that that's going to be using our stock study data. We've got Church and Dwight, no stock study for that, and you can tell in parentheses at the end that says the uses default judgment. So again, that's going to take publicly available information and as well as whatever is in the club records. It's going to look at the valuation. It's going to look at the rest of the portfolio. It's going to make a judgment there. Maybe not as good as doing your own stock study, but again, we don't want to leave anyone out. So anyone can come in and do a stock watch report here. And again, you've got something at the bottom that's a little drop-down menu that allows you to choose any of the stocks in the club's portfolio. And here's a sort of an overlay miniature version of what the stock watcher looks like. So you get the overview, you get the growth section, you get the chart at the top. Again, not a direct replacement, obviously, for a stock study, but it tries to pull in what we consider the useful and immediate information for that. So I'll pause here for a second. Russell, I may have been going a little fast. Is there any questions that have come up here?
Diane did ask about sending clarification on where you update the SSGs, that you have to go to the Better Investing site. And that's true. You have to go to the Better Investing site. You cannot update an SSG from the My iClub site. So.
Yep, exactly correct. We do. That's why I wanted to make sure to include that tonight. I know we do see that in support. We do see that in support sometimes where folks will say, well, we ran the monthly reports. How come the stock study hasn't updated? And we say, well, you know, double check. You need to go do that on the Better Investing side. Okay, so going a little fast tonight maybe, but this is, I think, certainly something good to keep in mind. So for what's ahead, this is what we're looking into. We're looking to try to get a little more graceful support for non-stock securities. Right now, it is depending on your club, it can feel kind of limiting. I know this happens to me. I've got a couple of REITs, I've got a couple of funds, and so those REITs will never, at the moment, will never show any extra information. There's no stock study I can link to, unfortunately. So we're looking into ways to get information for some of the non-stock securities added in. We've also got some little bits and pieces here and there, some holdovers, maybe grandfathered in on some of the reports using, they're using an analyst EPS estimate. So we're working on getting those, making sure that they are using just the stock study judgment. And looking into the Stock Watch report, sort of tinkering with generating it either with the assigned persons data, with default data, or perhaps having an option to do generating the report with someone else's data, someone else in the club, perhaps. So you may be able to get the Stock Watcher and see, well, let's see what happens if we're using slightly different judgments from a different study. Well, I guess I jumped the gun a little bit there. So I'll say unless anything else has come up, do sort of go into closing here. And just as always, we want to remind folks to check first on the site in the file storage, again, under that free resources from My iClub. Look for the user guide, look for the quick start guides. Also, for any page that you're on the site, you can go up near the top right, click help. I spend a lot of time, I really like the writing. So take a look at those anytime. I've written most of the FAQs that you might run into. So if you love it, call and let us know. If you don't, well, that's okay too. You can call and tell me any typos that I made there. There's also, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's interesting. So we had a couple other questions.
Oh, sure. Sorry.
They're kind of not related to this though, but they're kind of important. Someone is mentioning, Cheryl's mentioning that the broker sync in My iClub for certain brokers is not working as it used to, specifically Schwab. And I know we're working on that. That's a Schwab problem. They're not allowing, if you can correct me if I'm, they're not allowing third parties. You have to go through their, they've set a particular intermediary you have to go through. So everyone has to go through a Schwab designated intermediary to get the information. So we're just working with that intermediary so that broker sync will work again. So that's my understanding, is that we have to jump through a couple of hoops. I mean, also they have to be interested and willing to really want to do that. So I imagine clubs, for example, clubs that have tried to do stock transfers on withdrawals can probably attest to how helpful Schwab is with letting clubs operate the way that they want. So I will say definitely working on getting that data import, but that's probably a whole can of worms that we don't even have to. Yes.
We don't have to
follow up when it will be available. We don't know, because a lot of that's out of our hands. It's in the hands of the Schwab designated intermediary. So
yeah, that's unfortunately, it's, as you say, it's gonna be up to them to decide that, you know, that they're interested enough to reopen that. But again, that's probably for better for another time. You say, gosh, I got off my game a little bit there. So just to do the wrap up a little bit, obviously we've got the webinar pages. You can see all the history of the webinars as well as the next, gosh, I think we do about the next dozen or so on the iclub.com/webinars. You can also see it from within my iClub. You go up to the videos tab. We've got the same list there. We've got the ones that we think are particularly important near the top left. We've got the upcoming shows. We've got the current one. This is going to be up probably in the next few days. There's also always the online help to the iclub.com/support, or you give us a ring, 877-33-iClub. It's 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. I will say also we have been doing, gosh, since just a couple of months ago, we have been keeping later hours on Thursdays. So on Thursdays, that's extended from 9:30 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. If you're Russell, if you ever needed to call in, if you ever needed to direct anyone to give us a ring, Thursdays are the night to do it. We've got folks a little bit later to help answer questions there. And as I mentioned in passing earlier, our next show in July is going to be a dig into the portfolio review report. So that'll be back to Doug taking the reins there, and I will be back in the background answering questions. So,
okay, we'll add one thing. We've covered this before in previous webinars, but the SSG can also be linked to your watch list in my iClub. So it's not just for some reports. It can also be linked for watch list, and we've covered that. True. And it's also in the free information in the file storage how to do that.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. That's right. Definitely make sure to go check out the that file storage and the free resources. And as Russell says, it's kind of a nice touch. The watch list did get updated. Gosh, I think it was a few months ago now that you can put linked stock studies now to fill in the watch list with some extra information. So definitely take a look at that the next time that you're signed into the site there. So otherwise, folks, thank you for coming. Russell, thanks for answering the questions in the background while I was chatting away, running through the screens and the reports. And folks, we hope to see you this time next month for an in-depth on the portfolio report. Thanks very much, everybody, and have a good night.